The first guest I have here is the fallen hero. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I've known you for a while, but the audience doesn't know you. So why don't we just start from scratch so that the audience can kind of get a feel for what's going on? You're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, right? Or a current Jehovah's Witness?
Kind of in between.
What's the situation with it? Why would you say in between?
Because I'm still a baptized witness. I haven't gotten disfellowshipped or anything yet.
Okay, so you would say that you are physically in but mentally out. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
Tell me your story. I understand that there's a story behind this, right? Like, what happened?
Well, I guess I'll say that I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, raised by my aunt, who has been a Jehovah's Witness for over 20 years.
Your parents weren't Jehovah's Witness? Your parents aren't really
No.
involved at all?
Yeah, they're not
Okay.
involved.
So your aunt raises you as a Jehovah's Witness, and that gets you... How old are you, by the way? Do you want to say? You don't have to.
I am 16.
Okay. So that brings you up to 16 years old. At what point did you stop believing it?
I guess wishy for like the past year.
So you said you were 15 when you kind of stopped believing it. What was the thing that made you stop believing?
Well, at 15, I wanted to believe everything still because I was still wishy-washy, but is not in the truth. And he kind of started pointing out some things that didn't add up, and started kind of like questioning things myself, and kind of realized not everything added up myself. So like I wasn't
Gotcha.
like being pressured by him. It was kind of just like he was pointing it out. Like he's like, "What about this?" I was like, "What? I don't know."
Okay. So 15 years old, you get a boyfriend, which is he's on the outside, and that's kind of forbidden in itself, right?
Yeah. So not everyone knew. No one knew about him.
What brought you to the point where you were willing to have a boyfriend, where you didn't really... I mean, you're baptized, right? So that's
Yeah, I
definitely
got
breaking the rules.
baptized at 13.
So what got you to the point that you were willing to have a boyfriend? Because that's definitely breaking the rules. Was there social isolation involved or anything?
Yeah, I've been to public school a few times, but I am currently homeschooled, and no one at the Kingdom Hall is around my age group. So everyone's older, like 50 years or older.
I had the exact
Or
same
really
experience.
communicate with me much, anyways.
So you never
And
really had any friends, for the most part, right?
yeah, like I went to public school for at least a whole year or two, elementary.
In elementary, right?
So like multiple years ago. And I actually started talking to people outside of the witnesses at 9, online and stuff.
Online, you say? So you said about 9 years old, you started talking to people from the outside of the religion, right?
Yeah, so it was kind of more of not really talking to them. It was kind of just role playing and stuff because I loved reading books and things like that. So
Right, and that was online that you were talking to them.
well, for talking to people online a few times, like over the years,
Right.
too serious.
How did you end up meeting your boyfriend?
Through a Discord chat.
Oh, really? Okay, and you were 15, you said?
Yeah, like I recently turned 15 when I met him.
Okay. And I guess he lived in your area, huh?
You could say that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm being vague.
Oh, it's
Tiny
okay.
bit.
You
I
don't
feel
have
like it
to
might
be
be too
specific.
vague.
You don't have to be specific if you don't want to.
Okay, so I was going through a time where I was really isolated, and we visited a different state, and he was only like a state or so away from the state I was in.
I see. So he came to where you are.
Chat. Pretty much, yeah.
Got you. So how old is he? Do you know, or do you don't have to say if you don't want to?
He's like a year older than I am, so it's not like too much.
Okay. So he kind of helped you find your way out of the religion then. What was it that got you to decide to leave in the first place?
I resisted as much as I could because I didn't want to believe anything was wrong with. So I was like, no, everything's fine. And then it kind of like he pointed out like really how like things don't make sense, as I said before. And like I would like to say what some of those are, but I can't remember a bunch of them
Oh, that's fine.
because he was doing a lot of research. He was like curious to see what I believed in.
So he didn't
Like,
start out
nope.
biased, you say?
yeah, he didn't like start out as like it's bad. He just was like curious at first and did
Right.
a bunch of research,
Right.
and
That's
then he came
interesting.
to his own conclusion.
And I guess you came to the
Outright.
same conclusion, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad you found your way out. How do you feel about the religion now? Like, now that you kind of realize it's BS, what do you think about your family and how they'll react to you not leave, or how they'll react to you not being a Jehovah's Witness anymore and things like that?
I haven't exactly told them yet,
Okay.
so they'll probably react pretty poorly though.
Do you think they'll react poorly, you say?
Yeah,
In what way? Do you think they're going to shun you and stuff?
probably.
Do you think that there would ever be a time when you would want to reveal the truth to them that you don't believe it anymore, or are you just going to try to keep it pretty quiet for the most part?
I might keep it quiet for a bit, but I do plan on telling them eventually.
You think when you've kind of gotten to a point where you can be financially independent and things like that?
Basically, once
Yeah.
I figure out a way to smoothly slide out.
Yeah. It's really hard to do. I know it's really hard to do because I actually went through a really similar situation with like the isolation and the just the everything. And I just
Yeah,
know
I
it's hard to
recently
do.
got reproved as
Oh,
well, but
really? Do you want to
yeah,
say what it was for? You don't have to.
because of my boyfriend a bit, but that's
Okay.
a story in itself that we probably don't have time to say. So
Sure, right. Yeah, we are running low on time. I do appreciate you coming on and talking to me. It's been a pretty interesting conversation, but I'm sure I'll talk to you again. I think you're in the patron server, so I'm sure I'll talk to you there, okay?
it's been great talking to you though.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I love talking to fellow ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. I like talking to everybody. That's why I do this segment in the first place. I really like getting other people's perspectives on things a lot too, though, like ex-Mormons and things like that. It's really, really fascinating to see, to kind of compare the way people viewed the world as opposed to how I viewed the world when I was younger. And it's also interesting to talk to fellow ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and compare notes and see if we thought the same way in many different ways. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad that I got to talk to you, the fallen hero. Anyway, the next person on the list is named One Ring. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. We have spoken before, haven't we?
Yes, we did.
And
I was
I
on
hang
the podcast on my birthday.
Okay, now I think I can remember this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're an ex-Pentecostal, right?
Yes, FourSquare
God, I
specifically.
nailed it. Oh, okay. So tell me about, like you say, FourSquare. I didn't know that was a Pentecostal church. Tell me about this church.
Yeah, FourSquare is very much Pentecostal light. Basically, the lady who founded it, and it was like founded in like early 1900s, but she was like, yeah, the Pentecostals are doctrinally sound, but they take things way too far. So
Interesting.
like all the snake handling and stuff, like growing up I learned that not only was that, crazy and taking things way too far, but we also saw it as like you're basically practicing paganism and snake worship.
Really? So they didn't believe that you should be handling snakes and all that other stuff.
Yeah, but they also, they believed in faith healing, especially for things like mental illness.
What about the other physical stuff? Like, so there's snake handling. I know some Pentecostals do. They do the drinking poison thing. Have you seen any of that? Did yours do that?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's something at
yeah,
least.
we didn't do that.
That's something. But faith healing is bad enough. I mean, faith healing is so
Yeah.
harmful. What is do you have like the worst example of a faith healing situation that you can think of? Like, did you go to any kind of like conferences and see it happen or any of that, or was it mostly behind closed doors?
Growing up, I had some mental health issues with, depression, low self-esteem, all that jazz. So I went through like so many exorcisms, I can't even. I say exorcisms because there isn't really a actual term,
Right.
but essentially exorcisms.
So what did they do? Like, what was the process like for it?
There are basically two different ways. Like, one is like the kind of in public where you go up to the front, where they make a call for people who want to be prayed for healing.
Sure.
Go up, say what you need, like I'm dealing with this issue, etc.
Yeah.
The elders will come pray for you, praying in tongues, and they'll anoint your forehead with oil. And then another one is like you'll like going to see the pastor for counseling. It's like a one-on-one counseling session, and you'll talk with the pastor what you're dealing with. He'll lead you through a prayer where you'll say, "Spirit of depression, in the name of Jesus, I command you to leave me now." And they'll get you all riled up. And then as you're going through this prayer, getting all pumped and hyped up, they'll anoint you with the oil. And then, of course, the speaking in tongues.
I've seen some of that. I've seen all of that, getting people pumped up and the energy and the adrenaline flowing through them. And it's crazy. Like you can see the look in their eyes is just almost like a mad look,
Yeah, like I joke sometimes on the server that the difference between a Catholic exorcism and a Pentecostal exorcism is in a Pentecostal exorcism, both participants are speaking gibberish.
Right? It's so fascinating to get like a glimpse into the culture of these churches and things. Like I love looking at the Pentecostal videos on YouTube and just watching how they kind of conduct their church services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what's your take on your previous religion, the FourSquare Church, I think it is? What's your take on it now?
Yeah.
After being out, like, do you feel like it's a cult, and in what ways? Are you unhappy with how things played out and the way that they acted toward you, or do you feel like it's a reasonably moderate, chill, okay church for the most part?
I'd say it's on the line of being a cult. Bite model wise, there's not very much on the behavior control, but there is a lot on the thought and emotion control end of things.
So they're heavy on thought and emotion control, you said?
Yeah. And a little bit on the information control because, you're not supposed to consume certain media. You're supposed to put it by what I'm going to call the Philippians test, for lack of a better term.
What's the Philippians test?
Well, based on Philippians 4:8, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is noble, whatsoever, etc. Think on these things.
Interesting. I didn't know that verse. I wonder, did they teach you that at church?
If I didn't learn it at church, I learned it in the church school that my church ran.
They ran a school, did they? Was it like, it wasn't a full-time school, was it? It was kind of a Sunday school type thing, I guess?
No, it was a Monday through Thursday school.
Crazy. That's crazy. I had no idea that was a thing.
Okay, I've got the verse up here.
Okay. Actually, wait, what was the name of the verse? It was Philippians what?
4:8.
4:8. Let me see if I can, because you were breaking up for a second there. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I see. So what was it that they were applying that verse to originally? Yeah,
basically that you kind of had to use that as a filter for, is this okay to, is this okay to be putting in my mind?
Got it. So that's how it applied to like information control.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Obviously, Harry Potter is out the door. All the various stuff that good Christian
what about
boys
Pokemon?
And girls aren't allowed to watch.
Did they have a problem with Pokemon too? My church had a problem with Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
What did you watch when you were a kid, and what did you read? Like, I know that I wasn't allowed. I played some Pokemon because my church happened to be okay with Pokemon, just that one thing. But did you like ever read like any kind of what types of TV shows did you watch and stuff?
Mostly PBS.
Okay, yeah, the educational stuff, huh? Yeah, I watched a little bit of that too. I did play a lot of Pokemon games and stuff. I was not allowed to read Harry Potter, which is disappointing because I'm sure you can probably relate to this, but like a lot of kids in class were talking about like Harry Potter, Pokemon. I remember in 5th grade there was a boy who who gave this girl a holographic Charizard card to date him. I mean, that's how integrated into the culture Pokemon was, you know? So
and like, you know, everybody's wanting to go see Detective Pikachu because they grew up with Pokemon, and I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it when it comes out on Netflix or something because it's got Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yep. It's like you can't even relate to it. I know exactly what you mean. Like, people are always making Harry Potter references and jokes, and I just don't get them. It's kind of disappointing. But anyway.
Well, I've started to get those because I married a Potterhead, so
right?
I kind of absorbed that by osmosis.
Yeah, I'm dating somebody who's like super into Harry Potter, so I have to read the books. It's kind of a requirement. But anyway, appreciate you coming on and talking to me again. It's been a really interesting conversation, so I hopefully will talk to you again one of these days, okay?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, have a good one. FourSquare Church. Somebody else had mentioned that recently. Really interesting that that's the one that you were in. I did not realize that.